Okay, was it all that bad? There was so much love for the Michigan legislature this spring and then absolute disgust when they couldn't get a road deal done. So let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights and the lowlights from this year and the hope for the lame duck fall. So should we take a look at the highlights first? I guess I want to ask how you would grade the legislature's job this year, because you were very happy with them a couple weeks ago.
Well, they're incomplete. I mean, they did get a lot done. They got a lot of hard things done. They got a lot of things. I said, well, hell, they'll never do that in an election year. But, you know, they did. So I think they did show some courage on some issues. They didn't get roads done. Roads is a big piece. I don't think they'll get roads done until the lame duck session. You got a lot of reasons for that. I don't think they're going to come back and the Democrats are going to hand Snyder a victory this summer. I don't think they're going to come back in the fall and Republicans are going to vote for a tax hike before an election. I don't think Democrats are. I don't think either party is going to support a tax hike before the election. And I don't think we've had enough really made the case to voters yet. You still hear people saying, over and over, a majority of people, we spend enough on roads. And one of the issues we have in Michigan, particularly this summer, as people travel, they're going to see the cost of gas here is the same as it is everywhere else. And we're telling them, you're not paying enough taxes. Well, the truth is, we slap a 6% sales tax on every gallon of gas, and we don't use that money for roads.
Elsewhere, right?
And other states use the money for roads.
Right.
And that explains why our roads are so lousy.
That's part of it.
Does the fizzling of roads and trying to get any kind of compromise there, Stephen, wipe away any good that the legislature did?
No, it doesn't wipe away any good. I mean, let's be fair. The grand bargain compromise out of Detroit is a huge legislative accomplishment. I mean, I would put that on par with
Right to work?
No, don't get me started. I mean, I might put that on par with like Prop A, which wasn't so much a legislative victory as it was gubernatorial, I guess. But anyway, I mean, I think that is your centerpiece lawmaking that you had this session, because there was a lot of doubt about whether that could get done, and that's something that has a tremendous impact on the state's largest city. That's a big deal, and also the sort of goodwill that we saw among legislators about that. You know, people from outstate talking about helping Detroit and the need to keep that going even beyond the bankruptcy. That's a big shift kind of thing. So the roads thing is very disappointing, but it doesn't. I don't think it overshadows everything else.
I think it was also interesting. We haven't talked a lot about minimum wage. That feels like that got overshadowed by everything else that was happening with the grand bargain as well.
That's a huge deal. I mean, it was a political move to try to short circuit a ballot campaign in the fall, but in the end, we end up pretty close to what people who wanted to raise the minimum wage were asking for. And again, out of a Republican-dominated legislature, I think that's a pretty
Sure, the Republicans chose bad policy to keep it from having worse policy forced on them. It's going to be a drag on an economy that's anything but robust yet. Michigan's doing better than it was, doing better than the rest of the nation. But small business people in particular, but business people in general are worried about this and its impact on business costs, particularly now that it's indexed for inflation. The only way they're going to have to manage labor costs going out from this, since they have to give automatic pay raises every year, is to lay off workers. This is going to raise unemployment. It's an inflationary bill. It's bad policy, and yet Republicans went along with it instead of making their case.
Right.
Well, and they had an opportunity. Again, Republicans had an opportunity to do this. If you don't like the minimum wage, you can accomplish some of the same goals by reinstating the EITC.
I would have supported
Everyone talked about that. More Republicans support that.
It encourages work instead of discourages work.
In theory, then raising the minimum wage, I'm not sure why that didn't catch more support than this did.
So let's give them a letter grade, even though they're coming back in the fall. What would you give the legislature?
Solid B plus.
I think I'd give them lower than that, B minus.
I mean, what didn't they do, Steve, that you wanted done?
Roads is huge.
Well, it is.
Some of the social issue stuff that went on this term, I think, really bad policy and obnoxious politicking. I think that stuff is more significant than even it got coverage for in the press. I mean, I think this is still a problematic legislature. It's got some leadership issues, particularly in the House, that are causing us real problems.
You have good
They did
leadership.
Okay, though.
You had good leadership, and that's not always the
You
case.
have great
in the
leadership in the
legislature.
Senate.
You had, I mean, Chase Bolger did
He did a wonderful
work
job
of
on
magic
grand
in putting
bargain,
a grand
yeah,
bargain.
no
That was
question.
such a significant piece of legislation.
Yeah.
I don't see how you can give them anything but good marks. This thing could have disintegrated. The legislature could have fallen apart, and they didn't. They held together on, again, everything except roads. They'll come back in November in the lame duck and pass a roads bill.
It'll be interesting to see what they do.